Hello everybody, my name is RODGON. I'm an artist, I'm a teacher, I'm a designer, I'm a cartoonist, I'm an illustrator, and I've been doing this for a very long time. And today, we are going to be learning some lessons. We are going to be learning something really cool, and this is going to be a topic that, you guys requested. So this is going to essentially be how to apply your knowledge of anatomy to your drawings and how to use your perspective to be able to learn how your body parts move and where they go. This is going to be one of those classes that are just going to change the way you see things. And you need to please have a sketchbook ready so that you guys can actually understand what I am doing. Because if you guys follow along, you are more likely to actually understand these concepts. So I highly suggest that you guys grab a sketchbook. We are going to be using little drawings like this of women and men, and we are going to be teaching you how to understand the connecting points of our appendages in the form of our hip bones and our collarbone, which are the connecting points for our body parts. And those are normally some of the hardest parts for you people to actually grasp. So let's make it easy for you guys so that you feel encouraged instead of pushed away from actually wanting to learn this crap. Anyways, so we were talking about this a little earlier today, but we were listening to music and I can't upload those to YouTube because copyright infringements and all that stuff, right? So I decided that I was just going to restart the stream and let's talk about all these things. So, step one. If you guys will be staying for the class, you guys already know. I only ask for one thing. And that is for you guys to share my stream and to like the things that I do. That is the only requirement that you guys have for me to share my knowledge with you. Selfishly, I just want more people to see my work. And I also want other people to learn what I'm trying to teach you guys. Because this is stuff that not everybody teaches. This is the stuff that everybody not supposed to know, but nobody really actually does it because they teach it in a boring, annoying way. So I'm trying to break through that so I can teach you guys why it's important to understand these things and how you can actually progress with knowledge without guessing, without just thinking that you have to put in endless amounts of time. No. You just have to put in targeted amount of time and actually know what you're supposed to be doing. So anyways, like and share my stream so that we can get started. I'm going to take a sip of water and let's fucking go. So our theme today is going to be how can we ask a question about this? How do I connect my arms and legs? How to connect arms and legs to the body. To the body. And understanding that is actually harder than people think. Like actually understanding how your legs connect is hard because we have to unlearn a lot of the stuff that we learn when we are starting off. Right? Like, so a normal body has a couple components to it. So we're just going to focus on drawing simple bodies with placement in the right places. So we're going to do a couple little exercises that you guys can do to play around with these, right? Proportions are not a thing. They literally are not a thing. Like you can have a person in any proportions with this technique. Like you will be able to draw people in every single shape, size, and body type. Because every part of the body is going to be customizable. Okay? Every single part that you draw, every puzzle piece of your body is going to be customizable. So you're going to be able to draw things in any style you want. But if you follow the guidelines that I'm going to provide you, you'll be able to draw bodies really, really quickly and actually know where your body parts fall. So what does an actual body part, like a body have? It has a couple components, right? It has a head, a head, It has a rib cage. It has hip bones. And it has appendages. At this point, we are going to just think about them as appendages. We're not thinking about them as like anything else. We have an appendage in the form of an arm, and we have an appendage in the form of legs. These two are going to be very similar, as in if they have two sections to them. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right? And they have something at the bottom that allows us to grab things. So both of them have a flat surface with appendages at the end of it. So both of them are really similar. They just have little different size appendages. Little tentacles on your feet are really small as compared to the tentacles on your hand that are a lot bigger. So seeing as this is the normal standard things that we have in our body, well, what happens when we learn how to draw these actually properly? Like when we actually learn to draw these in like actual shapes that are easy to follow, it becomes really easy to draw characters in all shapes and sizes. But I'm going to teach you today how to use your rib cage and collarbone to find the placement for your arms. And I'm going to teach you how to use your hip bones to find how to actually move your legs. And I'm going to tell you guys a couple things that you guys probably don't understand yet. If you're starting off, this is going to be eye-opening for you, because you're probably going to like think, oh, why do you need to know that? But you'll see why in a second. Everything has a reason, so please bear with me. I'll try to explain everything as I go. Okay? So the first thing that we need to understand is that we have 3 basic hard surfaces on our body that are going to be the predominant features that are going to determine the size, structure, and actual like composition of our bodies. So that is going to be your rib cage, your head, and your hip bones. Those are your hard surfaces. Things like bones and stuff like that are also hard surfaces, but they don't really have much volume. So we just need to know that those don't flex and they don't bend. So your actual body has a couple elements in them that are hard and do not bend. So you have your hard surfaces, which are 3 mainly: your head, your rib cage, and your hip bones. And then you have the other ones, which are your bone structures in the form of your arm bones and your leg bones, which we won't really have to go into. You'll see why. In order to find where your arms connect, you need to find the actual pinpointing part where your arm rotates. So most of the time when we get taught to draw things as circles, and then we draw circles, and then we draw our arms from our circles. And this is how we normally learn how to draw at first. This isn't wrong. Technically, this isn't wrong, because if you apply anatomy to this, you end up in a situation where you have a relatively solid shaping for your actual body structure, right? But this doesn't really give you any indication as to where anything goes, right? This is a very basic structure that is very easy to help you understand the basic components of overlaps and stuff like that in your body, but it's not going to tell you where the components go. The way that I'm going to teach you guys right now, it's kind of like a puzzle in general. If you just put the right puzzle pieces in the right place, you will have something that resembles an actual anatomy human. So regardless of the proportions you choose, it's going to look right. So let me explain how I draw the upper body, and then we can go from there, because that's the very first thing that I ever draw. The first thing that I ever draw is the actual torso. I like to draw the rib cage and then followed up by my hip bones. I normally start with a little beanbag in my brain because it contains those 2 shapes within this space, right? It contains my rib cage, and it contains, if I slice off the bottom parts and just give my character underwear, like this little beanbag underwear, I have the perfect placement for my hip bones. It's super simple, nice and quick, or you can think about it in different ways. You can think about it as a balloon with a stick underneath. That's another way that I like to see them. And then just connecting the edges. Right? If you think of it like this, you can think about it like a stick in the wind. And then you end up with all your cool poses by thinking about things like that. Right? You end up with really cool, interesting positioning when you think outside the box and you allow other ways of thinking. But how do we find the other components? Like, that's an easy thing to do. Like, the hip bones and the actual rib cage don't tend to be too hard to like position, right? As long as you envision a normal little shape with two parts to it. Remember, we have 3 hard surfaces. So as long as you identify the rib cage and the hip bones, you already tackled 2 of them right away. And the size of the rib cage gives you the size of the head. So once you identify this, you already identified most of the features for your body. You just don't know it yet. So here we have hard surface number 1, and this is all just a little beanbag shape, right? Wherever the curvature of the beanbag is, that's where your rib cage is gonna go. And then the bottom part, you just gotta learn how to slice off a little circle from the sides, which is basic perspective work. By learning how to draw circles inside of your circles, you can learn how to slice parts off, right? So drawing it from both sides, that would be one, and that would be the other. Just by drawing circles inside of that circle, I can figure those out really easy. So that it's not like a super complex element. So once I have this, I can draw basic cylinders or circles coming out of here. It doesn't have to match the size. It doesn't have to match the actual, like, anything. Just draw a circle away from it. Connect the edges. See what happens. When you draw the circle smaller or about the same size, the leg seems to be in that same general space. When you draw it bigger, it seems like it's coming towards you. If it looks like it's coming towards you, what happens if I make an even bigger one and I connect those? What happens if I make a smaller one? Interesting. And we established that we have 2 parts to our legs and 2 parts to our arms. So as long as I have 1 part, 2 parts, 1 part, 2 parts, we have an actual semblance of what an actual leg in space is supposed to look like. So now how do we draw the actual feet so we can finish stylizing things? It's actually quite simple. This little circle that you drew, this is an actual shape in perspective. So if you take this and you enhance that to either way, let's draw it this way for this one, and give it volume, now you have a foot in space. You want it in a different position? Cool. Bring it to a different place and then give it volume. Now you have your foot in every possible position you can possibly want. You can do the same thing here, only if it's forward, you need to make it bigger. You can make it pointing down too. All right? You can actually position your stuff incredibly easy by doing that. Then once you learn that basic concept of connecting a cylinder, well, then that's when your anatomy comes into play, right? Like that's when you have to learn how anatomy actually works. Let me explain to you guys a couple concepts that are normally really hard for people to understand at first. The concept of bumps on your leg not being as important as you think. Yeah, it really is. Like a lot of people fixate on the kneecap and they fixate on the actual like structure right here that happens in between the leg. So let me explain to you guys how easy it is to actually draw that. So once you have your hip bones, right, and it's like a cylinder that's just angled in a little bit, so you have that nice little circle that's angled for your hip. Once you start understanding anatomy, you'll start actually connecting these things a little bit different. You'll start seeing these shapes as cylinders, but then you'll start overlapping them. as you actually learn how your muscles connect, you'll start seeing that it's not necessarily all that complicated to give the indication of a lot of detail without really having to go and draw all the detail. A kneecap is as easy to draw as drawing two teardrop shapes interlapping with each other, and then just taking that little interlap and then using that as your kneecap. That's it. That's all you really need to do for like 90% of your illustrations. You really don't have to go into the heavy detail of drawing every single structure and muscle fiber that goes into your kneecap. You don't have to. I mean, it's good that you know it, yeah, and you understand it, and you understand how your muscle fibers work and how your muscles overlap and stuff. But you don't really need to, right? You don't need to like think about it like all these massive individual pieces if you just understand how to overlap some lines a little bit. Boom. You don't need to draw too much. You just need to learn how to overlap a couple lines. That's it. Like, we overcomplicate things so much. Perspective line for the cylinder, right? Perspective line, enhance it, connect it to my heel. And that way I can have a view from the bottom, I can have a view from the top, I can rotate this so it's like underneath, the leg is underneath instead of over top. Maybe seeing it from the bottom, so the other leg is like over here somewhere. So we overthink things, and then we overcomplicate things. And then when we see somebody else that is incredibly capable create something with all the detail in the world, we're like, oh my God, that's amazing. I want to copy every single little thing that person did. Oh my God. And then we try really hard to do it, but we just don't understand anatomy like that person does. So it's really hard to get that replication. But we end up drawing something that's appealing. So we end up drawing that instead of actually understanding what we are supposed to. So instead of actually taking the time to understand things, we often, very often, think of little tips and tricks. Or how can I cheat this? Oh my God, how can I make hands easier? How can I make feet easier? And, that's not always the mentality you should have. Think about it like this. Drawing hands and feet is kind of like your main tool when it comes down to drawing character design. Actually understanding those concepts is very hard, and normally it takes a long time. So it normally demonstrates that a person has a lot of experience when it comes down to actually drawing, and it shows that you put a lot of work in. So that is kind of like an electrician not learning how to ground electrical wires, and he just kind of learned how to cheat his way through it. And eventually he might get away with it a couple times, maybe a couple hundred times, and he might even have a whole career out of it. But eventually it's going to come to the point where you are going to be confronted with a situation where you need to demonstrate your skills. And if you're copying from other people and using that as your main source of inspiration and growth, well, then you're going to be in a very bad situation, because you're not going to be able to take advantage of all those beautiful benefits that come with actually knowing this shit. How do you manage to stay so positive? Oh my God. Like, I don't think you guys understand that I'm a very happy guy, but I'm also a very cautious man, right? So I'm a very happy dude. Like, I don't know, I'm just always laughing and smiling. But this comes from having a life that came with a lot of fucking hardship. And learning how to remove toxicity from your life is literally the number one thing that I don't know how to teach yet, but I wish that I could. I wish that I could learn how to remove toxicity from your life and then explain that in a way that people would understand and actually listen to. My life has been turmoil, most of it. Like, especially love life has always been like incredibly horrible. Like, it's just like to the point with toxicity. It's just, ugh. Like, it's not until recent years, like the recent year, honestly, that I've had like a really good relationship. And she lives on the other side of the fucking planet, so I can't do shit about it. So, unfortunate, but you know, that's what happens. Are you going to do Inktober? Yes, I'm going to do Inktober. My Inktober is going to be based on pinup work, though. We're going to be Pinuptober. And the reason being is that I'm pushing my hardcover for my pinup book. So I want you guys, and you know what? And also, like, I don't know. Okay, so I have always had the dream. I have a dream. I have always had a dream of being recognized for my pinup work. Like, I have always wanted that. Like, ever since I did, like, I don't know, anything, and I acknowledged Dean Eagle and Chris Sanders as, like, my favorite artists of all time, I will forever pursue that, like, being able to be seen and known as a person that creates amazing pinups. And that is going to be, that to me, that's a bigger dream than working for like Disney or creating my own animation and all that crap. Just being known as that guy that draws the super cool, cute girls is like such such a cool thing for me to like aspire to. That literally controls my life. That controls the way that I do like 99% of my work. So even though I'm known for like derpy animals and like cute little shit like that, like my passion is drawing really awesome pinup work. And that is going to be what I push eventually the most, because that's just what I love, right? I don't pursue what people find appealing. I pursue what I find appealing. And that is why my career is my career, not everybody else's career. That's my career. And if I let everybody else dictate what I did in my career, it wouldn't be my career. That would be somebody else's career through me. So I don't like doing that. I don't like thinking about, like, you know, even doing like stuff that is not going along with what I want from my art anymore. I just don't do it. Comes from knowing the tool. Are you guys talking about the pen? Yeah, drawing in pen is really fun. Like, I like the Bics. The Bic pens are really, really cool. Like, they're nice. They don't bleed all over the place. And then they give you a nice, like, sharp, like, line work that you can actually draw and sketch with. Like, it's not, like, it's not messy and it doesn't really get all over the place like a lot of other pens. And they don't get the little blobbies as much. So, especially the blue. The blue is honestly my favorite, but it's just not as visually appealing. So I don't do it as much because it's just, when I print my books out and like scan them and stuff like that, I want them to like look nice and sharp for you guys. So that is a decision that was like, I diminished the quality of my material to the black just because something, oh my God, I'm a sellout. I'm a sellout. I altered the way that I created in order to create a more appealing thing. Oh my God, I'm sick to my stomach right now. Ugh. I'm just kidding, by the way. I don't really care. Any tool is a tool to draw with, like, regardless of whatever you have. I just happen to have the ability to get a lot of cheap big pens. And I was able to get a lot of cheap big pens when I was working for a couple, like, you know, companies. So I used that. I learned how to use those so that I could take advantage of that. The mouth is really big on that. I'm not really sure I really enjoy characters with really big mouths. I think because I have one, right? I have a really big mouth myself. So whenever I draw somebody with a big mouth, I'm like, ugh, no. But let's go back to anatomy. Let's go back to our actual anatomy. Let's draw another character real fast. Let's draw another little pinup girl. We'll start with a rib cage. Start with the middle of the rib cage. This is gonna be a balloon. We're gonna draw a stick for our hip bones, just so we can find these little circles at the side of our body. We can connect this on the side. We haven't figured out like curvatures or anything. We're just connecting it to have it as a baseline. Like if I want to create a bigger body, I can just make the hip bones a little bit wider, and then I would have a more like wide body. If I wanted somebody thinner or somebody with like a very small hip bones, I would just make those hip bones really small and they would taper in, but I would still have those same mapping points. See what I mean? The mapping points that I need are those circles. Those circles are what essentially tell me how my legs are supposed to come out in any way I need them. So as long as I have that connecting point, I can draw my legs doing absolutely anything I want. But I need those circles to be very clear. So when I'm drawing my characters, I'm drawing like wide hips, I need to make sure that I'm very clear about to where those holes are. So when you actually draw your legs out of there, they start looking really, really nice, even when you start overlapping lines and stuff. Okay? The moment that you start thinking and drawing through your shapes, you end up with a lot stronger character designs. So these little circles are the key to making it easy. Understanding that is just a matter of then connecting basic shapes like ovals or cylinders or that to each other and just connecting the edges, right? And then learning how to overlap them. That's just easy compared to finding the actual mapping point for the actual body part. That's the hard part. Especially when you're drawing like complicated shapes, right? Like as long as you have a beanbag and you slice off 2 circles, now you have legs. So now you can take advantage of that and draw legs in a bunch of different cool places. And then just learn by using simple shapes. Don't overcomplicate it. Learn with simple shapes so that you can actually move the things in space. Okay? Regardless of it being in any position possible. The thing is, I make it look easy because I'm explaining it in an easy fashion. Once you find these holes in the cylinder and your hip bones, then it's just a matter of actually just drawing things coming out of there and stylizing them to look like legs. If you don't have time for my lives, you can always go to my YouTube channel and watch them at your own pace. I have a bunch of these lessons. Like I have like 400 videos or so. 400 videos. All geared to helping you guys either in both perspective, anatomy, or just life in general, you know, just like telling you guys how you guys can survive as artists. You know, like that's just what I like to do because that's how I show my love. You know, that's how I want to give back to my community. And it doesn't cost you a dime. I'm not pushing you guys to buy my video courses, and I'm not giving you guys like half-assed videos. You know, like I'm not doing that shit to pursue something else. I'm just giving it to you guys for free because you guys deserve it. I think everybody deserves knowledge. And if everybody has accessible knowledge that is easy to understand and not very overly complicated so that you can start your journey into that fucking infidel, like this is the very basics, right? Like understanding this is really nice because you can go and like, you can like fuck up your life drawing prices now. Like you can honestly, once you learn like how to position your characters like this, you can go into your life drawing classes and then just destroy. Like you will be the best life drawer in the whole place. Because now you'll be able to draw the characters and the person in front of you, you'll be able to draw them doing anything you want. It's really funny. Like I love going to life drawing classes. And this is what I do in life drawing classes. Let's say that we have like the model right here, right? And then she's like, I don't know, sitting down or something. So the first thing that I do is I block out the general silhouette of them. Like I just the general aspect of it. And then I think of all the things that I have in my body, my 3 hard surfaces, my hip bones, and I start trying to figure out what these little bumps are so that I can map them out. So in this case, for example, this would be kind of like, this would probably be the booty, right? Like the booty would just be right in your face right here. So understanding that's my booty and understanding a little bit of an anatomy, if I have my butt like this, that means that my hip bones are right in here like this. Okay, so if I see this, my hip bone number 1 would be right here. Hip bone number 2 would be angled and probably around right there. Cool. Now I have a cylinder that I can use, and I still have to stay within this space. So I have to draw this to my leg. My leg probably is coming out this way. We're gonna have a lot of foreshortening here. And then we're gonna probably have a foot in here too, and it's all coming towards us. So we would have maybe a big ass foot into, this is the leg. This would be the kneecap because that's where the edge is. This is like a super bendy pose, but we're gonna have to make this leg doing something else too, because it's kind of like gonna be floating in space if I don't give it a little bit of something. So this leg is bending backwards this way. This leg is gonna be bending up. Then we have our hip bones and we have our balloon for our rib cage. We have the spine that goes around our balloon into our head. Our shoulders, we got to talk about the shoulders. This is a really fun way to draw the shoulders, by the way, and I'm going to show it to you guys in a second. And it's going to make you guys giggle a little bit. But this is roughly what I do, and then I start adding little things like animal critters and stuff like that to my drawings. Because drawing something for 20 minutes is way too long for me. Like it takes way too little time for me to figure that shit out. So I start adding things to my drawings. You love watching me. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, let's explain the arms. Actually, let's finish this page with legs and then we'll move on to arms for the next page. We are so close to finishing this actual like sketchbook, by the way. It's super awesome. So remember, your hip bones are very easy to find by starting your body like a beanbag. That little crevice that you get from your beanbag is going to be the initial part of your rib cage. And then that bottom part is going to be, essentially you can think about it like this and make it even easier. Just draw another circle on the bottom and then slice off 2 edges. Just slice off the bottom part by drawing a circle inside. So in order to slice things off of circles, you can draw circles inside of the circles, and then you get different guidelines that you can slice off. So as long as you know that basic perspective move of drawing and creating a circle and then slicing off sections by just drawing a circle inside, you can slice off this side of it, slice off the other side of it, see, draw through your shapes, and then these circles become little cylinders that, if drawn at that angle, give you the mapping points you need for your legs. And as long as you always connect the edges of the next cylinder to the edges of that cylinder, you're going to start drawing really cool things in perspective and from the right place. Bum, bum, bum. It's a style. Well, no, I mean, this is not style-based illustration work. This is more like you understanding the basics. If you understand how to make that work, like these connection points, right? Imagine that you understand this. You can turn that into anything from a super detailed illustration of a leg, right? To something as cartoony as just a little simple drawing for somebody on the subway or whatever, right? The same applies. It's a connecting point. Even if you drew something as simple as, let's say, let me explain to you guys how cool this is. Understanding this simple exercise of slicing the bottom part off, right, allows you to draw all your little cute animals now, really cute and really pretty. You can use this same concept of this and apply it to the arms, and then you would have the same concept for the arms. And just like that, you can create animals, kids, chibi characters, like anything you want, just by drawing little nubbies coming out of those holes. So understanding just the simple structure of a cylinder with those things pushed in at the sides and knowing how to move this in space so that you can have your side views, your front views, your back views, right? All those views come from just understanding that basic cylinders in space. So practice that cylinder in space and you're going to be able to draw legs in every position you can possibly imagine. Like you can start just drawing cylinders and start drawing legs from it and see what happens. Just draw different size circles to draw it into space. Like if you want to draw it back, draw the circle smaller and then it's going to look like it's going smaller. Draw the circles bigger and it's going to look like it's going forward. It's all just basic perspective work. This is where your cylinders and your knowledge about how to draw things in space plays a role. And the combination of this and your anatomy is what leads you to be able to draw really cool legs. But you need to know both. You can't just know one. Like understanding one aspect of it helps you be able to draw it in the proper space, but then the knowledge of the other, the anatomy knowledge, is what helps you draw it pretty. And then understanding perspective makes clothing into a joke. Because clothing is literally just perspective lines getting traced over and drawn over. That's it. That's all clothing is. Clothing is just your perspective lines. And if there's folds, you just draw the folds with those perspective lines. That's why I don't teach clothing, because clothing is stupidly easy. Once you understand this, clothing is just really easy. So I don't like to teach clothing because clothing confuses people, and it doesn't really help you as if you don't know how to visualize volume first. Right? If you don't understand how volume works, you're not going to be able to know how things bunch up at the bottom of your pants. When you're not going to know, like if you bend over with a hoodie or something like that, how it's all going to bunch up. But if you follow the guidelines, you can. Right? All these little things give you little like levers. So imagine this, right? And we want to make like, I don't know, some pants, some super baggy pants, but they're going to bunch up right here because they're bending the leg. So I need to find out my perspective lines. Cool. So perspective, and then I enhance those perspective lines to create the volume that I need. And then I trace over this. And whenever I see something intersecting, that's when all those little lines are going to play a role. All those little overlapping lines become your wrinkles, become your little like overlapping thingies. Like that's why perspective is so strong. Perspective is incredibly strong because it allows you not to just do that, but you can draw literally accessories or whatever you want on things because you just have perspective lines. right? Rings, stuff like that becomes super easy. Gloves. Things like that become easy because you understand how to draw through your shape. So let's learn from this and yeah, draw our legs a little bit better. By just drawing cylinders at the bottom of our bodies and then using those cylinders to draw your legs any way you want. Doesn't have to be even structured, by the way. Like, as long as they're coming out of these holes, your body's going to represent them as legs. Like, so feel assured that you are going to be able to draw legs much better by the end of today if you practice and put this into play. All right, so I'm gonna end the stream and I'm gonna restart it and we're gonna do arms, okay? I'm just gonna do it like this because it makes it easier for me to just download them and upload them instead of having to edit too much. So I will see you guys in a couple minutes and we will learn how to draw arms. So yeah, go like and share my shit. I have one task. I have one piece of homework for you guys. One piece of homework. If you guys have found that any of my lessons make you guys a better artist, I want you guys to just do me a simple favor and just share the lesson that helped you with someone else, right? If something that I taught you guys has reached you and it made sense, please do me a favor and just share that knowledge with someone else so that then maybe that can help them as well. That's it. That's the only thing I'm going to ask of you guys today. And I hope that you guys are, glad to help me. Like, I hope that it's not a burden for you guys to do so. Because the last thing I want, and the last thing the reason that I don't hang out with people is because I always think I'm a burden to people. So I don't want to translate that into my real, professional life either. So I just want to make sure that if you guys want to and feel like you guys are getting anything out of this, you guys actually just help me back. But that's it. Only if I'm helping and only if you learn. Okay? I'm going to end the stream. Thank you so much for being my sketching buddies. If you guys decide you guys don't want to join for our arm lesson, thank you for keeping me company for now. The lessons will be on YouTube later. So if you guys decide you guys want to learn that later on, great. You guys can check that out too. And for more videos, click on anything here. This is for YouTube, by the way. Make sure to click on all the videos on the screen and then subscribe. And let's get to 100,000 so your art can be a YouTuber. Okay, I'll see you guys in a couple minutes. People, TikTok, stay tuned. We're going to go on to our arms next.